Good morning, Joe. Good to see you. So this defund the police movement, something that I understand is very close to you. Not only have you served in law enforcement for most of your career, but you also grew up in the projects of New York, where you say that police were mostly white there, but still you've maintained that defunding the police is not the answer. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes. Good morning, Liddy. Thank you for having me back. And yes, you're exactly right. I grew up in the poor community in the projects, and the reason why defunding the police is not the answer to police brutality because it's not. I haven't heard any conversation in reference to defunding the police being the answer to police brutality. It makes no sense to defund the police with the hopes that you're going to change bad policing. Bad policing is a separate issue, and it needs to be addressed separately, and defunding the police department is not it. Like I said in my book, Police Brutality Matters, we have some recommendations that I gave a proposal for, which will correct bad policing. I'm from law enforcement. I know the culture. I was uh, one of a few officers that testified in federal court, had cases go up to the Supreme Court. I was a union vice president. I traveled to Afghanistan to build a police program. Now, I say that to say I know policing. So when we start talking about how to correct the problems, one of the problems that I've seen in my experience, and a lot of officers would agree, I don't know if they agree in public, but they would agree that the accountability factor. I've worked with a lot of police officers when we talk about officers who are excessive aggressive. They have the attitude of, don't, why are you worried about it? Let the city cut the check. Now, what that means is let the taxpayers pay for officers who don't follow the policy, the training, the procedures. And the taxpayers currently, right now, have paid out over $1 billion in bad policing. So my proposal to correct policing is take that burden, take that bill of bad policing, guys who don't know how to follow training and procedures, and put it back on the officer. And what I mean by that is instead of the taxpayers paying for bad policing, now the officer now is required to have insurance like a doctor, a nurse, an attorney. So when he himself chooses not to follow the training and policy, he himself has to pay. Why are taxpayers paying for bad policing? That would eliminate the mindset of let the taxpayers cut the check. When I was over in Afghanistan with another 119 other police instructors, we've had these conversations. For the most part, you have good officers. You have good officers like myself. I have family members that was good officers, and we tend to understand the culture of policing from the inside out. Now, having these conversations, another prime example of the police management, policing itself. If you look at the incidents that we've had in policing that brought us to the stage that we're at right now currently, all these officers have something in common. They have a history of not following procedures, not following protocol, not following training, and they have cost taxpayers thousands of dollars already. So we need to zero in on bad policing, and how we do that, accountability. I've had the answers years ago. I've had them now. So if any legislation wants to figure out how to craft or design some legislation that will actually directly affect bad policing, you give me a call and I can tell you, because defunding the police is not going to do anything but raise the crime level. It's going to go out the window, and it's going to hurt good officers. You got to understand something. Myself, when I look at how to change this narrative when it comes down to policing, I look at it as someone from the community that's most affected and a police officer. Like I told you before, I have an excellent resume of good policing. So when I talk about how to fix the problems within, I looked at it in a sense to where, how do I target bad policing without affecting good officers? You have a lot of good officers out there, and when you take away the resources to fight crime from good officers, the community, the citizens are going to hurt. I remember it was a 6-year-old child that she was being molested by a 28-year-old. I was able to get so many resources to help bring this guy to justice, to help lock him up. You're talking about personnel. You're talking about surveillance equipment, tracking equipment. You start taking away the tools that officers need to fight crime, and you're going to have an increase in crime. As you're aware, you see that the crime rate is going up now. that's a sign of what's going to happen when you start pulling these tools and resources away from law enforcement.
Now, Joe, speaking on that, what you're talking about of crimes going up, we've seen a spike in crime. We saw a significant increase during the holiday weekend. Now, why do you think there's a sudden spike in crime across the country?
Because the citizens, and not even the citizens, the criminal element that haunts society, they see what's going on. They see the officers calling out sick. The officer response times has increased to over an hour, to where we was there between 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that there's something going on with law enforcement. They're not responding. The community is mad at the police department, and the police department, especially the unions, are advising their guys to slow down, take your time. Blue flu, you call out sick, and you let the community start to panic, because especially the union don't want accountability, and this is their response to any threat of accountability. Slow it down, let crime go up, and then they'll be wanting us back. And you can't have that mindset, because the community is going to hurt. The community is going to take the brunt of this problem of how do we fix police brutality. And it's sad, because we got both sides of the spectrum that don't understand exactly, when it's all said and done, the community is going to be the one that's most affected.
But we're very fortunate to have people like you that do understand those both sides and are here to bring us your point. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your insight, and we really hope that our viewers have a chance to check out that book. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.